Hello and welcome to the Animal Farm of 1954. This is a animation and it's a very famous story, so it's possible that you know about it, but it's about this farm owned by a person called Mr. Jones. Now, Mr. Jones isn't such a nice person. He, to a large extent, abuses his animals, and he's also always drunk. And he comes home from the pub and he smashes the bottles, and sometimes the bottle will hit the animal, and also he only exploits his animals. So they have a lot to offer. Of course, he uses the pigs for their meat and chickens for their eggs and their meat and so on and so forth. There's also a donkey and a horse. So the donkey is called Benjamin and the horse is called Boxer, and they're extremely hardworking, and also they're very good friends. Now, we also see that a meeting is called by the animals, and they're meant to meet and talk about the appalling conditions that they have been put through by their owner while the owner is asleep. They gather in this huge barn, and so there are a variety of animals. So there's this little very cute duckling, and you'll see it throughout the animation, and it can barely walk but is always there to help and to take part in different things. Now, there is this wise boar, and he's quite old, and he tells everyone that he's coming very close to the end of his life, and he's giving some last-minute advice to his fellow animals that the current situation is appalling, and that the animals needed to unite to overcome this appalling situation and improve their living conditions. And of course, everyone agrees. And then soon the boar dies, and everyone is very sad about it. Now, within this talk, he also talks about the equality of animals, that some are more intelligent, some are not, some have feathers, some have legs, and some have 2 legs, some have 4 legs, and so on. So he's trying to drive the message that they should stand up to tyranny and oppression, and of course all the animals are pretty much in agreement. So one day so the boar dies, and within the communities, everyone seems to be pretty much quite friendly and good-natured, but nonetheless there are a group of pigs that are not so nice, especially a pig called Napoleon. And there's another pig called Snowball. He's nice, and we'll see later that he's quite creative, but Napoleon has quite a bit of a bad streak in him, which we'll get to very soon. Now, they have united to oppose the owner of the farm, and one day this happens. They mess up the farm, and they go into one of the rooms in which, or the barns in which he stored different things like fruits and hay and different things, and he takes out his belt and tries to attack the animals, but they are many and they fight back. So there's quite a few very strong animals, sturdy animals like cows and horses and so on, and they can easily overcome him. And he's kicked off his own farm. So the tyrant is gone, but what he does, he calls in all his friends to back him up, and they come in with their tools, with their racks, and or any tool they can pick up, and the pigs alert the rest of the animals to the uprising by the humans. And that you see the little duckling as well. He's always, or she's always there, and is trying to help others. And of course, so a fight breaks out between the animals and the humans. So the animals are trying to reclaim their rights and get fair treatments and a better standard of life. And of course, the farm belongs to the human. And of course, he brings his friends over. But then, in a fight to the death, they can beat the humans. And even though that the humans had guns and stuff, the animals in a stampede can kick them off the land, and of course the animals win. And yes, so we have quite a few casualties as well. So for instance, a dog dies, and also a pig gets injured, and so on. And then, of course, now the animals have taken over the farm, and they feel very victorious. And of course, they have engineered a revolution of sorts. Now the next move is to. They were so fed up with Mr. Jones, the owner of the farm, that after the coup d'état, or let's say the revolution, they're so steadfast in removing every possible symbol and sign and anything that reminded them of those times. So of course they're singing revolutionary songs, and that marks their victory over the previous owner. And so they go in the house, and none of them had been in the house ever. And they have a look around to, pots and pans and so on, and they go upstairs. So all the signs of oppression of animals. Of course, the head of a reindeer, taxidermy of a reindeer, so they're pissed off by that, and even go upstairs. They go upstairs, and they, so they find a gramophone. And the mule just kicks it like as a mule would, or a donkey. They have quite a kick, don't they? So he just breaks the gramophone, and anything they find that belongs to the man, they want to destroy. Of course, they hate the system that used to be in place, and they want nothing to do with it. Anything they find, they destroy, and so on, and even they burn some things. So then comes the Declaration of Animal Rights. So we'll go through them one by one. So now that they've won, they put together a declaration of animal rights, so that all animals are equal. No animal will kill another animal, and 4 legs is better than 2 legs. This is quite funny because, so they're writing these different commandments or declarations of. So no animal shall sleep in a bed, which is quite interesting. Because of course the owner used to sleep in a bed, and they detest and despise anything that will remind them of the owner. So as you would have with a revolution, then we have no animal shall drink alcohol, which you would have thought that is a given, but wait a little while and you'll see. And then we have, so 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So the chickens don't like that, because they have 2 legs. So we get to that in a minute. But it's very cute. Then we have, so that's where the chickens are not happy, because they have 2 legs. And then I think it's the pig tells them, well, you have wings, so that's like legs, so you count as 4 legs. And it's always the sheep who repeat this like a mantra. 2 legs bad, 4 legs good, and it's quite funny. The chickens are more gullible. So the sheep were effectively always repeating that 2 legs good, 4 legs bad, and it's quite funny that way. Then once they have written the Declaration of Animal Rights, then they get to work, and they want to establish like a community of their own and build things. And so the most hardworking of them are the sheep, and also the horse and the donkey or the mule. Especially the horse, a boxer, is very hardworking. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. Now, the first things they need to do is, of course, take charge of the work in the farm. So, of course, the farm has a lot of stuff to do. So maybe they have to harvest and pick the hay and collect the hay and put it in stacks and things like that. So like the ducks are helping and the sheep are helping. This little duckling is there. He's trying to help, but it doesn't manage to do a lot. And then, of course, everyone is doing something positive to get the work done. So it's early on, post-revolution, and everyone has very high spirits, and there's a sense of community, and and things are running very smoothly. So again, they're doing different things on the farm, and they have to harvest the wheat and things like that. And now, they have multiple meetings about things and to discuss the running of the farm and so on. Also, what they want to do is to export their revolution, because so far, early stages though, but so far the revolution was quite a success and quite a hit, and they've been able to establish their own community, and they're running, managing the farm very well. So they want to spread the word to other animals and other farms who are experiencing tyranny and oppression to do the same thing. Now we have mixed responses to this, because it's the birds who take the message to different animals, but then some are pets, like cats that are fed like a king, 3 square meals every day, and they don't have to move, and they don't like it. Or some people, some of the animals, like there's a little lamb, and the lamb is really attached to his human, and he doesn't want to hear about it. But then we have, for instance, an example of I think it is an ox that has been overworked, and it doesn't, it's actually, it's quite happy. It hears the news of the revolution from the bird, and it knocks out the owner. So he's quite happy with this. Now, beyond that, then there's also programs within the animal community to educate them, and it's very clear that although it has been declared that all animals are equal, but within different types of animals there is disparity. So, for instance, you have the horse and the mule, and another animal is trying to teach them to read and write. But this is not very successful. Or like a pig is trying to teach other pigs, the piglets, how to count. And so he's doing his best with them, but before he knows it, they turn around and eat the apples. So there is an educational program for different animals, but to varying levels of success. So very early on, we established that there is disparity. So, for instance, the pigs in this animal farm seem to be like the intellectuals. They're intellectuals, and they know better than others, and they're more educated, and they can think for themselves, whereas other species seem to be quite backward, and so they're not paying attention, and they're in a completely different ball game. Now, I did mention that Napoleon, the pig, he had quite an evil streak to him, and he had potential for leadership, but also leadership combined with tyranny and oppression of other creatures. Then he makes friends with a bunch of dogs, and so they're puppies at that point. And I think these were the puppies whose parents died when there was the uprising by the humans to retake to take the farm back. And they were in some ways indebted to the pig, and they became his minions at some point. Okay, then certain things happen, like they realize that the management of the farm wasn't that easy, and they're struggling. So they realize like there isn't enough food, and they're working very hard, but the food isn't enough, and they have to ration, and so on and so forth. Although the leader, who's now the pig, gives them various, Napoleon gives them various promises, like, for instance, I'm going to provide individual heaters for you in your barns so you don't have to freeze, or that give you lamps and stuff so you can do your knitting, so the cow is knitting. Quite ironic, but I think they appreciate the suggestion of the barn being a little bit warmer than usual, and also being able to have access to running water. So okay. And of course, this is at this point it's not Napoleon. It's a guy. It's a pig called Snowball. Now he is an intellectual, but he's good-natured, as opposed to Napoleon, who has a dark and twisted streak to him. So this is the promises that Snowball, who's effectively a good pig, gives to his comrades, and they do refer to each other as comrades. Remind you of a certain thing, of course. Now certain things happen. So, for instance, we know that Snowball is an intellectual, and he makes some plans, and but then while he's drawing some blueprint for making a mill, you can see that Napoleon is looking from upstairs at what he's doing and trying to copy it. And Napoleon sees Snowball as like a competitor, and he doesn't want one. So he gets the dogs to chase after him, and he expels him from the farm. So that's the end of Snowball. Now, the only authority now left is Napoleon, because the other animals don't really have the capacity to leave, and Napoleon is left. And I did mention there was a blueprint for making a mill, and the rest of the animals who are quite subservient, and they're gullible and also impressionable, listen to him and say, okay. He, of course, Napoleon steals the blueprint from Snowball. So Snowball was the one who was toppled effectively, and he was chased off the farm, and that was it. So what they want to build the mill, and I mentioned that some of the animals are very hardworking. So we just saw the mule and the horse. So the mule, Benjamin, and the horse Boxer, they do all the heavy lifting, as it were. So they bring the stones and so on, and they're quite tired. And now the pigs, especially Napoleon, had a tendency to be in the upper echelon of the animal kingdom. So they were the intellectual, as it were. They could plan, and they were the brains behind everything. So before you know it, there was an established hierarchy in the post-revolutionary farm, in that you see, so some animals had the capacity to do all the hard work. So you have the sheep, you have the horses, and you have the ducks, and so on, building the mill. So like the ducks lay the cement, and then the rest bring it. And the pigs there are the mastermind behind it and the brains behind it. Although I did mention the blueprint was done by Snowball, but Napoleon did steal it all along. They make the windmill, and it takes a lot of effort, and some don't do much, and others or just directing the work. Now, what happens is that the pigs realize that they possibly could be, because they're their brain in all this, they realize that they're possibly entitled to better food and more food, and that they could live in the house. Now, if you remember post-revolution, everyone hated the house and hated any symbol of the human owner of the farm. So they burnt that, and they were not allowed to, no one was meant to sleep in a bed or live in a house, as one of the declarations of animal rights. But then little by little, the pigs change their attitude, and they go and take residence in the house, and they sleep in a bed, and all this happens. And so bit by bit, things are getting, things are really changing around here. Now, the old drunken Farmer Jones is always at the pub, and he's talking to his friends and always trying to plot. But then he's descended to a point of no return. He's an alcoholic, and he's always pissed out of his mind, and so on. But there's something else that happens. When they were in the pub, a very savvy businessman hears that the farm isn't doing very well. So even though Mr. Jones doesn't know a lot about the farm, he hears a piece of information, and the pub seems to be the place in which all the gossip is done. And this very savvy merchant hears that the farm needs some help, and so on. Yes, and he starts a business with them. Now, the pigs say that, we're doing all the brainy work, and now we need some money to come in for running the businesses and running and managing the farm better. And we will ask the chickens to make the first contribution with their eggs, even though, as at the time of the revolution, one of the agreements was that no animal needs to sell their eggs or needs to be sacrificed for the farm, and so on. But this changes, of course, now that the needs have changed, and they're struggling with the management. Then they do cooperate with the merchant. Now, again, bit by bit, the whole vibe and the atmosphere of the farm is changing. The pigs are just getting more and more separated from the rest of the group. They feel very entitled, and they effectively want to rule. And and what we see is that the chickens go on a strike because they said that, one of the declarations of animal rights that we did at the time of the revolution was that we would not need to sacrifice ourselves with the eggs, and they break the eggs on the heads of the pigs in protest. But then what happens is that Napoleon is very unhappy about this, and he sends the dogs in, and they chase after the chickens, and the chickens are cornered, and effectively they're frightened to the point that they give in, and they're scared out of their wits. So with intimidation and bullying, Napoleon is changing the whole atmosphere around there. So the declarations written on the wall are being now amended. So, for instance, no animal shall kill another animal now without cause. So the chickens were sacrificed. And we see that an amendment to their rights has now been afforded. And the whole vibe is getting hostile. Again, the businessman is who profits from it, and he counts his money. And the previous owner, again drunk out of his mind, is excluded from the group, and they tell him you're so pissed and so on, and you just stay where you are. Then we get a second uprising by the humans, and of course our farm and their animals get equipped and prepared for another uprising by the humans. The first one, of course, was defeated. And we'll very much look down on the abilities of Farmer Jones, but he takes some dynamite and he has something very sinister in mind. Now, with the so the farmers who are coming to take back the farm from the rebellion animals, now again get in a war or a serious fight with them, and of course the animals do their best to protect the farm and so on. But of course, something that really breaks their heart is that the whole mill that they build goes up on fire. And of course what has happened is, so it goes up on fire, and all the work and effort they put into building it is effectively lost. And the animals, although they didn't lose the farm to the farmers, are definitely disheartened and dismayed because and they've taken a lot of injuries. So for instance, Boxer has been injured and so on. Boxer doesn't feel very well anymore. Then more effort is made to rebuild the mill, and this time is not so easy as it was before because the animals are tired, and now we know that Boxer was injured before, but and he has a bandage on his leg, and he's not able to work very much. So all the animals think that he should retire and stay in the barn and have a decent retirement, as they put it. Now, something also quite awful happens. So yes, the horse gets injured again, and they take him back to the barn. He's not actually dead, but they will take him back. And yes, so he deserves a good retirement, but unfortunately Napoleon, who has effectively become a dictator and a tyrant at this point, he calls for the animal removal services or animal culling services to come and take the horse, because now that Boxer can't work, he doesn't want him anymore, and he dumps him in the bin. And the other animals are shocked and dismayed and disheartened by what they see. And they, of course, are quite upset by what has happened. And the pigs, one of the pigs who tries to keep face says that he cries crocodile tears and says, yes, I really love Boxer, and he was such a important member of the community, and now we've lost him, and so on. And the animals are not buying it at all. Now, you also see pictures of what is called the supreme leader, the Napoleon the pig, who has his pictures up in every development and every building in the farm and so on. So it's definitely now going towards becoming a dictatorship. And also he is head of state, as it were. He's head of state of this farm, and then he has dignitaries to come in from other farms to have a meeting, and of course these were the dogs who became the minions of the pigs because they were they were orphaned, and the pigs took care of them. And the very loyal pig, the mule or donkey, does not buy this, and he knows that when the poor boxer became old and disabled, they threw him away, and he was very offended by that. And also we see another very significant change through the Declaration of Animal Rights. So we knew that all animals were equal, but now a new clause has been added to it that reads, "But some animals are more equal than others." So possibly referring to the pigs, because they always saw themselves as superior. And effectively, you see the tyrant and his cronies there, and one day they gather, and the animals gather, and they attack the dictator, and that's the end of it. I thought it was quite an interesting topic that you need to be very careful post-revolution, because there is a high tendency for corruption of the person in power, and you're going back to something that was worse than where you started. And I thought it was quite a good animation. I hope you liked it.